Welcome, everybody, to our True Self Talk. That is the community life reflection after our monthly free energy healing and connecting session. Yes. So, along with 5 other trained energy healers who help me facilitate our session here today, Anita, Julianne, Sheila, Cindy, and Jared, we held the field for you and read out your energy throughout the session. Hi, Sheila. I see your video. So you're more than welcome to turn on the video, but we are going to be on the YouTube channel here. So if you're okay with this, then turn on your video. Yeah, this was a big session. Happy equinox to all of you out there. So much going on in this session. Just so you know, I have a protocol from all, like 84 people, I think it was, in the session who were here with us. And my special thanks goes to those who came to help and read the energy in this field. Now, it is common, before we go into the details of this particular session, it is common around equinoxes and solstices, as well as eclipses, for example, that we pick up on a lot of collective things, okay? So collective things are things that are basically in the air. I report about them in my forecasts and my energy talks. Those are the energetic weather conditions that all energetically sensitives pick up on, whether they are aware of it or not. So part of the reason why I have been doing this for 12 years now, and why I have gathered this community of energetically sensitives, is to help us understand our own inner experiences. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure, knowing some of your guys' journeys, that this is something that you've spent quite a bit of time with yourself, perhaps still trying to figure out, what is it that I am experiencing? Am I making this all up? Or is this some kind of weird stuff that is trying to get to me? So which of these two ends are we actually finding ourselves? So without further ado, let's talk about the session a little bit and the theme that I made out. Okay, so there are several aspects in this session that we will discuss and bring to your attention, things that you can work on yourself, or come here to the Sacred Self-Healing Community on Skype, where you can work through these things with alignments, on online meditations, and energy talks with others. This is something that we all need to keep in mind, just in general, according to my own forecasts and many other visionaries. The collective aspect, the social aspect of our lives becomes more important as we move forward through our evolutionary journey as humans. And so it's no longer just enough, to strive for your own personal growth, for, out vibrating others or succeeding or comparing and competing with others. It's becoming more and more important that we understand the entirety of the organism that we are part of, the organism society. This is a different view for most people, because we are looking at our societies, and many of you will say, oh, this is sick, or this is like something that I don't belong to. I'm not part of this. This is part of our evolutionary healing process as a collective, guys. We got to understand this, that we are not solitary beings. And yet, when we are tuning into our spirit being, our true self, which is ultimately the mediator between our higher self and our sort of ego self here in 3D, we can make out something that feels like a uniqueness, that feels like an individuality. Yeah, of course we have an ego, and that tells us that we're special and that everything is different with us than it is with others. But let's put that aside. You guys are already versed enough in recognizing that your ego has kind of like its own agenda, which doesn't always align with your true self's agenda, with your conscious self. But there is something here when we look into the spiritual world that is quite interesting, and that is that we are indeed individuals as soul selves. We are these souls that have a body, and we have a spiritual identity. We have a spiritual ID. Some more pronounced, more refined, more, with a higher range than others. But we all have this super unique spiritual composition within the larger organism of our society, of our planet, of our solar system, of our galaxy, if you will. So there is something that we experience as almost a dichotomy, where on one hand we feel through our inner experience confirmed in this feeling that there's something very unique about ourselves, and yet at the same time, people like myself, other people as well, report about these larger cycles, these larger rhythms, these things that we all go through. All right. And one way to heal our schism between, trying to figure out how we can make it as individual together with others. Yeah, this is like, if you feel into this, you can feel that this is the core of all issues that we're having. Yeah, we're not designed to be solitary beings, and yet highly individual. But at the same time, we're also not designed to be of some hive mind, or some Borg being, where we just sort of follow orders or things that come in through the ether or whatever. So this is not who we are. And this is the theme of this session. Yeah, this twofold understanding of ourselves and how that is conflicting. This is what came forward for most of you, and this is very complex. Yeah, this isn't simple, but probably the easiest way how you can relate to what I'm trying to convey here is the loneliness that you are feeling. The loneliness in times of highest levels of outer connectivity, of IT connectivity, of internet and Zoom and Skype and phone and all that. So there's something in our chest, in our heart, that is pulling apart, that feels like a chasm that needs to be overcome. How can we understand ourselves, our soul, our individuated I am consciousness that we are working on in context with others? Yeah, there are certain stages that we all go through, and there's an article that I wrote about the stages of awakening to your true self and fundamentally your spiritual ID, forming your spiritual personality. And we all come to our spiritual journey a little different, but depending on, whether you have other people that you can share these experiences, these inner experiences with, there will be a stage where you feel that the entire world, including all other beings, are hostile toward you. Raise your hand if you've had an experience like this, where you felt that you have to protect yourself from others. Where you feel like anything that is coming in from the outside is something that you need to, build, a protection wall against. And this is very, very common, guys, especially if you're energetically sensitive, because really what happens is that you are waking up to your spiritual reality, to the reality that there's lots of beings around you. Yeah, not just 3D beings, not just the mineral world and the animal world and the plant world. And, there's also a spiritual world there. And as energetically sensitive, as someone who's wakening up to this spiritual reality, you get scared. Yeah, you'll get scared. It's like you discover that the monster underneath your bed or in your closet is actually there. Yeah. That's scary. Yes, the world is out there to get me. But see, just like a 3-year-old, who thinks that the whole entire world is just looking at it, yeah, which is not the case, okay? With 8 billion souls wandering around on this planet, you kind of have to think a little bigger than that, okay? The truth is there's a constant interaction. There's a constant two-way, a constant, what you put out, what you take in. And this requires you to wake up to, the morality of this, the rules of this. I remember a time, I'm, from IT in the 80s, there was a time when, we only had AOL and forum boxes, that there was no World Wide Web yet. When we were discussing and writing articles about what we called netiquette, yeah, instead of etiquette, netiquette. All right, how to behave on the internet, how to SMS, how to text, how to chat, how to do these things. Yeah, this is now like literally, well, gosh, I'm old. This is almost 40 years old, 40 years ago. And nowadays, we have, 2 generations of kids that have grown into this already. Yeah, they're, the kids that were born after, I want to say, 2012. They really don't know a different world. All right, they don't know anymore what it's like to write letters or, to have a dial phone with the, with a cable attached to it. So whenever we wake up to a new reality, we have to discuss, we have to have this awareness of what it does to all of us if our means of communication are changing. Then the rules of this interaction is also changing. You guys are one of the first sort of pioneers of energetic sensitivity. You guys been around for a long time. As same as myself. And 40 years ago, if you talked about energetic sensitivity or beings or chakras or whatnot, people would like run away or make fun of you. Okay, this is different now. Yeah, it's different now. Yeah, but just because it's easier to talk about these things and just because it has become easier to almost like, like a fad, yeah, almost like another level of special to be spiritual, doesn't mean that we still have to figure all this out, how to interact on these levels. So let's say you are an energetically sensitive person and you notice, things maybe that other people don't notice, and maybe you have used them to your own advantage. Yeah, maybe you have worked with that a little bit. You've learned how to, shut things off, or you've learned how to sort of lean into other people and, be more persuasive or more convincing in your energy. Okay, these are all the perks of energetic sensitivity. Yeah, to get, what you want, or to make people do things for you. This is the sort of shadow side of energetic sensitivity that nobody really wants to talk about. Okay? But now that there's more and more people awakening to this, guys, these things are no longer in the dark, in the hidden. It's in plain sight. Yeah, it's in plain sight. I teach 5-year-olds, in school, kindergartners, okay, certain things. And when they cheat or when they, do things that they're not supposed to do, they literally believe I'm not seeing this. Yeah, they're like, just like the 3-year-old who holds a pillow in front of their eyes and believes that nobody can see it. This is what I see with a lot of you guys. You have not realized yet that your energetic sensitivity is now becoming mainstream. And that means we're going to have to discuss the rules of interaction. We're going to have to discuss the rules of engagement with other people. This is a two-way, guys. You can't just, on one hand, either see the world as hostile, and barricade yourself, thinking, okay, that's the best thing for you, all right, and then ending up lonely and depressed, or, going out there and trying to fight against everything, and trying to win, and becoming anxious, and OCD, because you have to control everything in your environment. These two symptoms, guys, are very, very common among energetically sensitives. And what I see, or what I saw in this session, was this chasm between you being aware of your own spirituality, having had your own inner spiritual experiences, but still not realizing that this is a collective process. This isn't just you, okay? Others may not be as versed as you. Others may have not read as many books as you, or went to as many workshops, or have watched as many YouTube videos as you, okay? But we are all part of one bigger organism. We are all part of something. Yeah, you can call this oneness, but oneness is all sort of profaned through, this idea that we could all hold hands and sing Kumbaya. This is not the reality that we're having. People are struggling with their spirituality. And there is a lot of sort of adversarial energy coming in, sort of the counter force there, the dark side of the force that is coming in along with that. Promising people, that they are more special, or that they can gain more fame or more money or more power over others. Or, and this is something that I just wrote an article about, called spiritual fast food and spiritual consumption, promising that you could get there, with a shortcut, without actually having to do the work that we are doing here right now. Okay, so this was a little lengthy intro, but it is the context. And also, of course, when I do this, a reflection of collective energies, Yeah, I'm already working on the forecast for April right now, and I can tell you that the session was almost like a preview for, what is coming in April. Not so much your personal energy, but the energies that are working with and through us here on this equinox right now. And that is a highly schismatic energy, guys. It's a two-faced energy. Two-faced. And our job is to build this bridge, is to build the bridge between the physical 3D reality and our spiritual reality. And to walk this bridge. But it is more so right now the recovery of your spiritual ID, the recovery of knowing who you are. Did you guys feel that when you said the invocation, which starts with say your name out loud? I am Jona Bryndis. Did you feel that? There was a huge ping there. All right, because that is how you are declaring, how you're professing yourself. If you feel a resistance when you say this, and you can practice this here maybe after this talk, just do this a few times a day. Yeah, to profess, to proclaim yourself, your ID, okay? And if you don't like your name, all right, then fill in a picture or a placeholder or whatever works for you, but it needs to be aligned to who you truly are, to your true self. All right? We're all working on aligning our deeds, aligning our thoughts and our feelings to it. That's a lifelong process. All right? You don't have to be perfect. But become aware that there is a chasm. Yeah, and if you find yourself white-knuckled trying to catch up with whatever is coming in from the outside, or the other extreme, trying to protect yourself from whatever is coming in from the outside, then you didn't get the memo. You did not get the memo. The memo is to walk the bridge, not to build a wall, okay, between those two worlds. And how do we do this? We do this through becoming aware of our body, becoming aware of our present moment, yeah, checking in with ourselves, with our bodies, guys. This is one of the most important spiritual deeds that you could do, is to check in with your body. I make fun of it sometimes, not fun, but, squeeze your butt cheeks, okay? Feel your feet touching the ground consciously, and say to yourself, yes, I am here. Like you raise your hand for attendance in school, okay? And then take a deep breath into your heart, into your center. And then fill this I am here up with your feelings. Yes, I'm here. And release all, that you had on your mind, because most of you guys are too much in your minds. You're not fully present. You're not fully in your body. And that makes you susceptible to all this outer, sort of mind control, this etheric dirt that is trying to come in. And as you are professing, as you're proclaiming your being, you can become more aware of your deeds. All right, walking the bridge means, basically walking the talk. But sometimes the talk also needs to be modified, needs to be corrected. Yeah. If we beat ourselves up, if we punish ourselves, if we judge ourselves, if we judge others, if we deem others as, unconscious or, hostile or whatever, okay? Yeah, if we are not interested in understanding other people's evolutionary process, unwilling to recognize that they're just at a different stage, if we are not willing to do that, we are not able to walk this bridge, at least build this bridge. This comes from your heart, from your sacred heart. That is what we call Christ consciousness, guys. That's nothing to do with the baby Jesus, right? This has to do with the moral aspects that come with this. I am part of all of this here. I am already interacting with all of this, if I am aware of it or not. Yeah, and drifting off in fantasy land and, just wanting spiritual bliss, waterfalls and unicorns, as I've always called this, isn't going to help you build this bridge, because you are denying that which is there, okay? Yes, there is darkness there, but you don't need to be afraid of it. You just need to recognize it, just how you need to recognize your own darkness. And guess what? It is you working through your own darkness that allows you to discern outer darkness. So the more present you are with yourself, the more grounded you are, and the more you engage in conscious deeds that align you to your spiritual ID, the less susceptible you become. You don't need to protect yourself from anything. You're light. Yeah, once it's turned on, once it's conscious, once you put your spiritual ID on your light, okay, it's so much more powerful than all the ego stuff and all the temptations and deceptions that are out there. That's the good news. That's why we do this Connect with Your True Self every month, guys. Yeah, and here within our energy training club, 3-4 times a week, within the Sacred Self-Healing community, daily, okay, sometimes twice daily, with these wonderful practitioners, these wonderful facilitators that are doing this for you so that you could cut out, 45 minutes, 1 hour of your day, all right? And not only meditate together, but also talk and share together. That is a spiritual deed, guys. The willingness to understand one another. The willingness to be, or the interest in the other. Yeah, whether you deem other people as less conscious or more conscious than you is irrelevant. We are all just in different developmental stages of the same journey. All right. I promise I stop talking now. Mandy, your hand was risen there early. I guess you gave up since I was a bit on a roll here. Did you want to add or comment on anything?
Oh, thanks. No, sorry. I think I just left it up by accident from earlier. Thank you.
No, it's all good. Sheila, since I have you here and everybody can see you, Julianne, you were one of those wonderful co-facilitators as well. Hi, Seba, welcome. I gave a very, very sort of general description of the energetics of our session. How would you describe what we experienced during the Connect with Your True Self session in your words?
Well, it was very active, and with that, I guess what I mean is, I felt like a very deep, there was deep connections that went from very low in the body and then high in the body to where I found it interesting that we were all feeling all of this at the same time. And I think that was one of the things, was this big love for our true self, was what I kept feeling. And even if it was confusing. And so at one point, I think you had mentioned this feeling of two circling things that I was talking about that felt like I was trying to make them go together. And actually it was the part you mentioned about letting them be split and feel that in between. And I thought that was a big turning point I felt in the middle of the session that really opened things up.
Mm-hmm. So you were referring to some of the imagery that you had during the session, and it's live, so we communicate with another during the session. We exchange the energy codes that we're picking up on, the visuals, and also the physical sensations and emotions, and so forth. So this is just important here for everybody to know, that just because we see things in a visual way, that it doesn't have to be that way for you. All right. I think, Sheila, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but really what you're telling us is, you're saying it in your words, really, what I mentioned earlier, this chasm, or these two different hearts in our breast, right, going into different ways. And there's a part in us that obviously wants sort of the harmony, it wants to harmonize, and that's true. But there's also something in recognizing, that it is, so that just acknowledging that, and also feeling into the void that is in between. Because this is usually what we perceive as, this sort of squeeze that we have, where we feel really dark. So when you feel really lonely, when you feel depressed, or when you feel really anxious, it takes place in that zone. And sorry, the more we are familiar with this, the less afraid we need to be. The less we have to feel the need to cope it away. Do you guys all know what I mean with trying to cope things away? Just pop a pill, or binge watch Netflix, or get a gallon of ice cream, or have a drink, or whatever, our individual coping mechanisms are, okay? We're all afraid of going into the chasm. And really, when it comes to doing this deeper work with ourselves, that is not just the interest that we need to have, but also the curiosity, not as in like, blindly exploring the spiritual worlds, but as in like being okay with where we are. Sheila, I think there was a point where you then reported a shift into something that felt like an inner stillness. I don't know if you said the word inner stillness, but that's what I wrote down. So there is something that can be discovered in that zone, in that chasm. And this brings up...
It felt like an acceptance, I guess, like the peace and the, I think it was the specific words I wrote down were like a peace and a calm and a serenity. And so, but it was only after kind of allowing that space to be there instead of fighting against it, because that tends to be what we like to do, is to kind of, because of being afraid. And that's very helpful to understand, to not be afraid of that, to kind of feel into it or lean into it. And then that created that sense of calm and acceptance.
What were some other, yes, Seba, I see your hand. What were some other physical sensations, Sheila, that we picked up on in your words or in your protocol? There was a bunch. It was like, and it, like you said, it was quite interesting because it was almost identical, what all six of us picked up on.
Yeah, there was a lot going on with just like the sensations of the heart, like the chest area and the tightnesses that were there, and then would relieve. I think there were some we talked about like just in the third eye, like in your head area, in particular, that started to feel very filled up with mental things that trying to get that to allow that to release. Yeah, so there was that a lot of head things too.
And on the left, a lot of it on the left. Same with the heart area, like you said. There was a sort of a heaviness on the left side overall. I think it was you commenting on the clumsiness of Cindy as well. You know, there was Cindy, if you want to comment on that. Can you describe that? So what does that feel like in an energy session when you pick up on clumsiness?
I think with Cindy had mentioned it first and said something about it. So I don't know if she wants to describe kind of how that came across or not. But,
yeah, I think she can't turn her mic on. She's trying to type.
Gotcha.
But everybody else picked up on it. So this is, guys, this is how we come to the summary of a session. Okay, so we pick up on all these things and then put the puzzle pieces together. The clumsiness came in the first, I want to say, quarter of the session, and that always informs us that people are not fully present. Okay, it's when we become accident prone. It's when we become prone to a lot of unconscious things. Yeah, if you ever stumped your toe and ran against the door frame and, dropped the screwdriver on your, on your foot and things like that, okay? Spilt the water bottle over your computer, stuff like that, okay? Oh, your mic is not turning on, yeah. So that's, I think, what we can call a clumsiness, because really what it tells you is that you're not grounded enough. The problem with that is when you're not grounded enough and have these kind of accidents, and by the way, a big warning here already for all of you guys toward the end of March and the first half of April, you're going to be more accident prone. Yeah, and it's a two-way. Okay, in those times you need to be particularly present. Okay, yeah, but other than that, the point of us picking up on it is, basically to see where you guys are at. And that's how we come up with the advice, for example, to be more present, to do the breathing, the conscious breathing, to do the connecting with the earth, to do the, the 5 minute, several times a day that you take, or just to remind yourself who you are, to proclaim your spiritual ID with your body. Yeah, your body is the temple, it's often called in esoterica, but it really is, the sort of the container, that holds your soul here for your physical experience. Yeah, so you are a spirit being that is having a physical experience. Okay, and therefore, the state, the energetic state of your physical also determines how you are going to experience 3D. Okay, so this is important. Now, how you experience your own spiritual personality in a physical experience, it's determined by your body. And then it determines your emotions, and that determines your thoughts, etc. Sorry, Sheila. But we all picked up on that.
That came forward to Jona at the beginning. I mean, there was a real feeling of wanting to have that connection. And as soon as we went into the I am, and as you say, saying our name and actually feeling that, it was like a real oh, yes, that's what, in the field, that's what it felt like. Yes, we're sort of longing for it and wanting to feel it. And it was more so than I felt before, of that real wanting to feel. But then also there was a backwards and forwards that came in a bit later in the session, where you're sort of like, I'm back, forward, I'm not in my center, wait a minute, I'm back here, getting distracted, and then wanting to go forward. And we did see that fantasy stuff. I saw it up on the left, like a cloud of like all wanting it to be this way, and then we can get distracted and pulled out to there. But then,
and that's quite dangerous, actually. That's actually quite dangerous to get pulled into our own projections. At that point, we are like a sitting duck. Okay, so let's just take my word for this. Okay, there's increased etheric activity right now. Okay, and it's targeted at your mind. Okay.
And we saw that too, and that was that left. I could actually feel like see an entanglement, and it's coming from outside, and it's sort of like if we can imagine, it sort of pulls my mind. It sort of it's like a squeeze actually, and that's how it actually even felt on my head, like an outer squeeze coming in, and it blocks our through vision and probably pulls us into thought, and then the feelings, emotion,
and the judgment
and judgment coming up, and that is like part of this, which also came in was a two, and I can't remember who said it, but the two realities, there's the two realities that we're sort of like, I think Cindy said it, foot in two worlds, where you're sort of here and there, and we're sort of juggling that, but not coming into the center, and that's where being able to feel that in the session, it's like we really are longing for this discernment, actually feeling it. And I think something that came right at the beginning was I want to feel what I'm feeling and know what I'm feeling and making my own decisions, like really feeling into that. So
that's a very beautiful way of describing, what having a spiritual identity feels like.
Yeah. And your purpose, I felt the purpose come in as well, and the purpose was feeling the true self. That was it. It was just like, feel the true self and allow that is our purpose. That's what it was so clear, and it felt very, I think around that time, there was almost like a grounding light that came in and just went straight through. It felt like it was coming straight through and into the earth. And then having a connection to Gaia, which was beautiful. That was just one of the most, it was, I don't know whether anyone else could have this sense of just absolute, beauty. And
we spent a little extra time there, during the session, just so you guys know. And Seba, I have not forgotten that you wanted to share. We will let the co-facilitators just discuss this real quick for you guys to get a good feel. And then we're going to move on to the sharing. But this was the deeper aspect of the session, was actually to dive into, the first aspect was to actually be willing, to be in the chasm, all right, to be willing to be in there, because right there you had to face something. You had to face, your judgment, your self-punishment, and, for many of you really, like self-bashing, that this is very common with the true self session, that comes up because there's a part of us that feels guilty. It's the same part that yearns, for really connecting with it, but then you have all these judgments about this, where you feel like you're not deserving or you're not good enough. So that's almost like a layer that we have to go through. And once we're just okay, like Sheila described it, you just sort of accepted that in a way. You didn't have to agree with, your struggle, but you just accepted that it is, okay? Yeah, once you accept and acknowledge that there is a chasm, that there is a schism in you, where you on one hand experience yourself or want to experience yourself as a soul, as a spirit being, within this physical body, then on the other hand, think about only all the 3D and material things all day long, and forget about your spiritual self, which is actually the main actor. It's the main character here in your story, okay? And then the second part was to recognize that there is a greater reality even beyond your personal spiritual reality. There's a collective, a cosmic spiritual reality, and that one can only really be identified and discerned by trained people. This is what we do here at transCODES. And there you could see that, what most of you really needed was to connect with, like as you said, the heart of Gaia, which is sort of symbolic for, the divine feminine mother, the feminine energies, which are at the moment, in this phase of our development, like collective development, tainted. They're tainted, So we're dealing with the toxicity, with sort of the fallen feminine that needs to be liberated. This came in so clearly in the session, guys, for those of us who are trained in etheric vision. That it was clear to us facilitators to spend a little more time there. And, you can call this shadow work, but you can also just, call it, like I said, working with the schism, accepting it, serenity and all these things. To recognize that there are two aspects, conflicting aspects in you, and that they need to be acknowledged. They need to be reconciled. And it is the feminine part right now that needs to be liberated. So it's literally the dark feminine energy, if you will, that resides in all of us. This has nothing to do with the gender discussion, guys, So we all have masculine and feminine energies. That's sort of the plus and the minus, if you will, within our physical body, and how it then etherically splits. Okay, that needs to be acknowledged. It is the projection, the manipulation, the jealousy, the self-sacrifice, the false sacrifice, the codependency, the energetically sensitive manipulation. And that's why I talked about it in the beginning, where you misuse your higher faculties, thinking that other people won't ever notice it because they don't have that level of sensitivity, which is a mistake. Okay, so with more and more people awakening, these things become more and more reality. They become part of our reality and do no longer need to be seen as two separate realities. So this is really the whole point about building a bridge. Okay, is recognizing that spiritual reality is always underneath the physical reality. And then if you want to go a step farther, the physical reality is just the outer expression of what is going on in spiritual reality. So this is a little more advanced, that aspect, but on a practical level, and how we can integrate this and use this for our, walking the talk, for our spiritual personality, is to recognize that we all have, these attributes in us, these feminine and masculine attributes, of our energy. I talk a lot about this for many years. There's lots of different lectures and workshops that you can watch on the YouTube channel, and also the Sacred Self-Healing Forum, where we have the archive. It's like 800 videos, okay? So you can spend the rest of this year watching videos non-stop if you so want to. It's not recommended, but what I mean to say with that is that those aren't things that I'm making up, okay? Those are things that can be observed in the spiritual, and they're being observed by a lot of people, all different kinds of dominations or, teachings. So these attributes of your energies within, one, being more directed, being more action-oriented, and, more rational, and also a bit more aggressive, which is sort of, in a nutshell, the characteristics of masculine energies. And the feminine energy that's supposed to give things space, that's supposed to create sort of the nesting ground, that is supposed to hold the container, to hold the space for everything to grow, for things to develop. That is a little, I don't want to say broken, but that needs a little bit of love it. Yeah. The patience to watch something grow. The stillness to observe beauty. Yeah, in a leaf that is falling into the pond. Okay? These are highly spiritual moments, okay, in which you can experience your true self, your spirit being residing within yourself. So that's the practical part. And you know that I'm very practical about these kind of things, and I don't like the New Age talk because it misleads people into the to the wrong exits, if you will. It's also often profaning things that are quite deep in their meaning, yeah, and that need to be felt, to be spoken about. Which is why we're doing the true self experience together, because that is the opportunity to have that inner experience of your higher self. So let's move on to the sharing part here, guys. It looks like you guys are eager to put in your experiences. I'm more than happy to comment and give you feedback as well. So go ahead. Seba, thank you for your patience. That was a beautiful expression of your feminine energy.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay, just check the mic. I just wanted to chime in with two things. I came to the session quite late, but I felt in my heart that even for it was like maybe slightly over 20 minutes that I wanted to be part of it. It was like that inner prompting, and rightfully so. It was like quite beautiful because. What you said about being, that longing to be with others, or that longing to connect with others, I felt that it was quite strong for me, especially that in recent weeks I had quite a lot of that. And interestingly, with that new age kind of input as well, people talking about 5D, 6D, and they just throwing those names like levels, but you could sense that there is some sort of emptiness on the on the other side. And I noticed for myself that if I am not fully grounded, if I am not fully centered, that it brings a lot of judgment. So for myself, I need to be fully aware when I face something like that, to just be with it, but not to buy into it, not to kind of lean into those stories and with my mental energy. And
my dog agrees.
Yeah, and there's another aspect to that with the collective, with the collective energy, with the same story, that grounding and centering. For me, it felt like very strongly to remind myself continuously about those small moments during the day, to ground and center, like continuously, being in the space of bouncing back to that, especially in those moments when my head tries to catch the rabbit, running off, after many different things. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't know what you've seen in my energy during this session, but
so there were some predominant processes from, first of all, thank you, Seba, for sharing. Yeah, that's very valuable for everybody watching this or being here, because, it's after all us articulating these things, what actually connects us with one another. So it's one of the things that stuck out, and not just for you, but it was also in your field, was you're good at identifying, this desire to connect with others, but there still is a sort of like a mismatch here with how you think you can do that. Okay, so there is this on one hand, maybe I need to turn myself down. I have an echo here. On one hand, there is the desire to connect with others, but then there is a pushing into that, and then we feel disappointed, or we feel, in your case, it was more like sort of like a hopeless case, like, constantly trying, to get into contact with others, and then ultimately not returning it. Yeah. So there was this. Yeah. So the fear of rejection is obviously on a psychological level also part of why we have such a hard time facing that. Okay. So maybe what you can do instead of, having these ideas, because just like how you just said with the mental energy, you caught yourself pushing into with the mental idea, which is always like a belief system. It's always a set of, how you think it needs to be. So instead of doing that, perhaps, reversing the process a little bit, yeah, and not so much seeing it as something that you want from the outside, but much more like you want to be interested in it, to be more interested in it. Now, I'm not saying that you have to be interested in and absorb everybody's stuff out there. You can be selective about this, but can you follow me? The energy goes differently. Yeah, when you're interested in something, yeah, you're coming in and it's like an offering. Okay, you're like, oh, okay, and you're holding the space for someone, yeah, to put something into that space. You haven't really. There's no energy expenditure. You're not really giving anything away. You're just opening. It's like sort of opening the doors, but still looking at what is coming in, and engaging with that, what other people offer to you, yeah, regardless of how your mind believes it should be, or how they should be, or how this interaction should be. Here in the Energy Training Club right now, and with the Heart Warriors, we're working on codependency, and this is why we're working on this in this time, because it's right now it's a big theme for all of us. Okay, and codependency, yeah, where we externalize that which we seek to connect with, yeah, where we seek that which we need to connect with in ourselves on the outside. It's sort of a mismatch. Okay, that's the process that can happen on all different levels. Yeah, so in this case, I would say, these projections or these beliefs that you have, how this needs to be, to reflect on that, Seba, to take that back to yourself, yeah, and turn that into interest in yourself. Not how you think it is, not how you, how your mind wants to figure it out or wants to preconceive it, but to say to yourself, to just practice that. It's openness. It's a certain level of openness. To practice that openness with yourself. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting. Why am I feeling this way? Why am I feeling repulsed by this person? Why am I feeling attracted by this person? And not to seek anything wrong with them or good with them, but to ask yourself what it is in you, yeah, this interest, in like, oh, this is interesting. Why is this going on inside of me without judgment? Yeah, just saying, oh, okay. Yeah, I got to keep observing this. I got to, like this, what we do, and here when we're becoming spiritually more active, this spiritual self-investigation. So you've already done a lot of work, Seba. I know that. So it's not about knowledge, really. It's about being fully there with your own experience, watching yourself, when you're interacting with someone. Are you just trying to get your point across? Are you, trying to push your energy into this? Or are you trying to get something from the other? I'm talking from within yourself, okay? Yeah, then the spiritual etiquette, that's a second layer. okay? Because the more energetically sensitive or the more spiritually attuned the other person is, the more all that is out in the open and can be seen by both, okay? And that's a whole nother level of curiosity that we then have to develop. And we can't develop this if we're judgmental, okay? Because if everything is out in the open, yeah, once you know what you're doing all day long, okay, with your own energy unconsciously, okay, it's humbling, okay? And that's why it's a good idea for all of us, okay, to enter the process of connecting, be it the connecting with ourselves or the connecting with other people in a humble way, okay? And to just come from a place of willingness to understand, or curiosity, if you will, yeah? Like the willingness, the interest, yeah, rather than coming to a conclusion. So it's more the process of getting to know someone, if you will, yeah, than having all the intel about a person. Connecting means, you know, you're consciously engaging in the process, yeah, and being interested in that. So that's what I saw in your case, okay? But like I said, it's less individual than you think. So I'm addressing this to you right now, Seba, but I can tell you guys this was at least sort of 20% of the participants in this session that were working with aspects that have to do with that, with like how we engage into the connection process, not just spiritual, also in 3D. Those things have to go together ultimately. Yeah, they have to go together. Yeah, I hope that this is understandable, like how I mean this. I know parts of your journey, Seba, so I hope that you understand how I mean this. Yeah, it is something that you need to observe more, how your energy goes, yeah, and what it actually is, you know, this yearning to connect. And at the same time, then observing your fears around it, you know, like.
Yeah, I completely understand, and I'm working on that, you know, our side of perspective. What I've noticed is that, you know, sometimes when I've noticed that with projects, you know, when I engage with people that there is some idea and we would like to co-create something, that dissonance of different visions and different approaches and a different way of showing up. That's something that really rubs me the wrong way sometimes. You know, that I show up differently than other people, or that I think about that from a completely different perspective. You know, and to bring some picture to that is like, you know, I'm thinking about fundamentals, and someone is thinking about smoke from the chimney. So it's like, you know, those things. But at the same time, I see myself in the situation that I could actually bring that to the field. I could bring that to the relationship. I could point it out, and through that, being both curious. I really like how you brought it. That you know, to bring that curiosity instead of judgment, because it shifts the energy completely. It's like coming from ego and you know, into the heart. Like curiosity, and I've been working a lot with my inner child, so it's like continuous. You know, when I think about grounding, I also think about connecting with my inner child, because for me it goes hand in hand due to that you know, propensities to codependency and stuff. So I feel that many energetic sensitive people have that you know, there is the need for inner child to be embraced and to be noticed, and to bring that
Well, not just energetically, everybody does. There's these parts in us that need to be parented, that need to be reconciled or healed. And the inner child is we know this from psychology, can affect especially our interaction with other people. Yeah, so it reflects, all our wounds, our unresolved inner child aspects, okay? They show up in all of our relationships. So this is the right way to go. But always remember that other people have inner children as well. Yeah, and more often than not, when there's a clash between two people or two groups of people, it's typically just their inner children having a fight in the sandbox, throwing mud at each other. Okay, so working with our inner child is not actually a spiritual thing. It is just a necessity. Yeah, it's instrumental for our spiritual journey to work through our inner child and our shadow aspects. Without them, we cannot. Well, without healing them, we cannot discern what we see in the spiritual realm or access our higher faculties. You can't. You can't discern truth if you have an unhealed inner child. Now, that said, how do I know when my inner child is healed? Well, it will never truly be healed, but you can also just let go of it and step into your inner parent, step into the wiser, the more healed aspect of you and say to yourself, okay, that's something I'm still working on. Some days it goes better than on other days, but you're aware of it, and it's like sitting in the chasm, as we talked about it earlier. To accept it, to say, I still got some stuff. I got mommy issues. I got daddy issues. I got issues with this or that. I mean, there's not a single person in this world that does not have that. Yeah, we really need to get that, and one way is, between more conscious people, to work with this together is to make fun of it. Not to make fun of it, but to make fun with it. It's like, hey, I show you my inner child, show me yours, and we have a good laugh at it. Okay? Yeah, the reason why people have such a hard time getting past their wounds is because they take it so seriously and they make it special. Yeah? And they want to get some payoff for it. Yeah? They want to get some reward. Yeah, for having, had to suffer all these things. And this blocks the interest in others. It prevents it. Yeah. As a healer, you can see this very, very clearly. If you walk in my shoes and you talk to people all day long, all right, and it's more or less the same for everybody. Just slightly different variations, depending on the ethnic background or, the age. Yeah, the karmic setup is a little different, but the stages of self-healing that we all have to go through, they all are the same. We just don't always go through them in the same order. Yeah, that's the only difference. Now, that said, we still have our own spiritual ID in all of this. And that's then where, things like etheric reconciliation and karma work comes in, because once you understand that your specific karmic setup, okay, was needed for you to grow in a very specific way, namely your individual way, you can let all that go. Because if just one little thing be different, you probably wouldn't be here right now talking to us. Do you know what I mean? So there are some things that just simply have to happen. And that is the wiser you. That is the more healed you that can see that. It can see that these wounds, these traumas that you, not just you personally, it's addressed to all of you, that you had to face, that they were the ones that allowed you, sort of as a catalyst to more clearly feel your true needs and your true wants. So when it comes to, healing that and working with the imagery and the feeling aspect of that, you can see it as, like a reparenting process, where you need to come in as your higher self, and say, it's okay, Jona, honey, or Seba, honey, talking to the inner child, okay, and it's all right, okay, that you go through this. It was necessary for you to feel these fears, to feel these pains, in order to motivate you enough, okay, to develop your own spiritual individuality. Yeah. Why is that? Because our ego, and I talk about this all the time, operates, we get our ego for free, at birth, but we have to work, for our spiritual identity, for our consciousness, okay? So, when you go through, like just your ego stuff, okay, which operates on the paradigm of seeking pleasure and avoiding pain, you can't get there, okay, unless the pain reaches a certain threshold, where you have to surrender. And that is the moment when you find yourself. That is the moment when you have this inner experience of your higher self, okay? You may not know that is what you're having, okay? So when you are curled up in an embryonic position on the ground, bawling your eyes out, stumping your feet and your fists on the ground, and you just want to die and you want to let all of this go. Well, that is an inner experience of your higher self, okay? Because without that humiliation, if you will, of the ego, all right, the ego ain't gonna let go, okay? So it sounds a little harsh when I say it, but I mean, in essence, that's what it is. Yeah, the ego avoids pain and it seeks pleasure. It is not interested in growth. It is not interested in discovering higher faculties. It is interested in becoming better than others and overpowering others and stuff like that. And yes, that's why a lot of people use spirituality as means for their ego, which is another article that I just wrote called Spiritual Traps, because, that is also something that we need to look out for. The misuse of spiritual verbiage, and, walking around in white robes and, basically, just sort of trying to ride the wave, okay, to, appear as spiritual. Yeah. So our spirituality, our spiritual ID, guys, is measured in how much energy we actually put into it. All right. So if you think of your soul only once a week or once a month, okay, then your life is going to be that way. Okay. If you, actually have a spiritual routine, if you do the grounding, the breathing, the proclaiming of yourself on a regular basis, you will find it a lot easier to navigate, to straddle these two worlds. Yeah, because it provides you with the necessary faculties, with the abilities to do that. One is discernment. It allows you to understand these things better, to understand yourself better. And this is the reason why connecting with your true self is the beginning and the goal of your journey. Yeah. Understanding yourself. Being willing and curious. Being interested in you. And all the beautiful things, all the different layers that unfold in you once you actually pay attention to you. Okay? Including the little nicks and niggles and darknesses and pains and inner child stuff. That's all part of it. It is interesting to discover all these different facets of what makes you you. That is how I would define spirituality. Yeah, and once you are willing to do this with yourself as a daily routine, then connecting with others is a piece of cake. Because you already know how connecting works. Yeah? Through curiosity, through the interest in others. Wanting to understand the other, and perhaps at some point being willing to anticipate what the other needs that they don't even know they need, but not in a codependent way. So that's then the advanced level of that, is, to understand what the world needs, what the planet needs, what the cosmos needs, what the spirit world needs. Yeah, because all that goes hand in hand, guys. All right, we need to come to a close now. Thank you so much, Sheila. Thank you so much, Cindy. Thank you so much, Julianne. Thank you so much, Jared. Thank you so much, Aneta. Thank you so much, for co-facilitating the session, and Seba and everybody else who shared here and who came today and sent these beautiful emoticons to us. And to all of you who are watching this video, thank you very much. Please feel free to come back next month. The dates are published in my energy event calendar and on my website on the energy calendar, and sign up for my newsletter on my website so that you get notified of special energy talks. The next special event that is coming up, other than the regular energy sessions that are going on here at transCODES, you can look this all up on my website, but the next special that is coming up is on Good Friday. The date, I'm trying to figure, don't try to not make any mistakes here, is the 29th of March at 12 p.m. So basically at noon here in Florida, live here on Skype, the same channel, talking about the energetic secrets of Easter, and what it means to etherize and ultimately, to spiritualize yourself, and how that relates to Easter. So that's on Good Friday at 12 p.m. here on the same channel. And of course, you can also sign up for the marathon day. This is an intensive that we have the Thursday before that, called Etheric Reconciliation, learning the technique to work, these deeper healing processes with aspects of yourself or others in the etheric. All right, everyone. I see you very soon. Thank you so much, and enjoy this equinox. All right. See you soon.